Hello and welcome everyone to the Castles, Cantrips and Conniptions podcast. My name is Evan.
And my name, Doobie Edward.
And in this podcast we talk about fantasy subjects in movies, video games, but most especially Dungeons and Dragons.
Yes, because we started this off as a general podcast and it just ended up being a D&D podcast where we occasionally talk about different things.
Yeah, that's true, but D&D is still a huge part of our fantastical lives, our imaginary lives on the table.
Yeah, next to my schizophrenia, it's the only real thing that keeps me busy, so...
Yeah, it makes me deal with, or not having to deal with the world outside, and just only inside my own head, which is far more comfortable than going out there. But anyway, last couple of weeks we talked about some actual subjects. We talked for an hour about world building, which was the best episode ever.
Yeah, it was really cool to talk about that stuff, because I always wanted to just get my thoughts out onto something like a diary or something, and hey, I mean, YouTube is YouTube, so
yeah, just ramble on.
We could ramble about stupid things for an hour.
Yeah, that's true. And I think the episode after that one we talked about my character for Edward's upcoming campaign.
Yeah, we went through one of your D&D characters, which we'll be playing in, like you said, in my campaign. So if you're interested in that, we talk about certain tropes in character creation, and we discuss what character Evan will be playing, along with this sort of semi-homebrew class we've put together, called the Alchemist. It's based on the Artificer Alchemist, but we've flavored a lot of stuff and changed some stuff. So if you're interested in that, go check that out.
Yeah, check it out. It's pretty cool. It's I love the character. It's super personal. It's really created specifically for what I want it to be. So check it out if you want some tips or just want to hear about a cool character.
Yes.
Yeah, so this week we don't really have anything planned. I was thinking, and Edward as well, to just talk about stuff, because usually the best subjects come up at the end of the episode.
We get real on track, because we don't really talk a lot before we start recording these, like hey, how's it going, blah blah, and then we just start. Yeah. So slowly that conversation is going to pick up, and I'm going to reach my peak meme fucking weird mode at the end, and that's when I try to be funny.
Yeah, that's when the good stuff begins.
The juicy, that's where most of the titles come from. The last few minutes, because they're just too good.
Too good not to put in the title as clickbait. So sorry for that. But we'll try to be a bit more funny, throughout the entire episode and not just at the end. Last thumbnail, maybe we can go a bit deeper into this subject. Were NFTs as
Christ, yeah.
Or campaigns as NFTs.
Yeah, turn my D&D world into an NFT.
Yeah.
I hate that.
Yeah, but it's possible.
It is possible, and that's exactly what worries me. I'm terrified.
If you're the first to do so, I'm not sure if it will pick up, but it will definitely be interesting. An entire campaign world, including characters.
I thought it was just the map as an image, and then just make that into an NFT.
Yeah, but you can make any file as an NFT. So
yeah,
any PDF file can be an NFT, and just sell the characters as DLC NFTs.
Oh yeah, that's a good idea.
Just absolutely milk the shit out of it.
I'm starting to see a business plan here. I think I'm gonna quit doing a podcast, man. I'm gonna I'm gonna sell NFTs. Oh god.
Write that down, everyone at home.
Write it down. Don't copy my idea. I'll come to your house and eat your fucking bread or something.
Eat your beans.
Yeah, but the beans are already gone. They just don't know it yet.
Yeah, so it could be a great idea, in my opinion, but it's too much to figure out. Like you can only buy it with like Bitcoin and stuff, or crypto, as far as I know.
Yeah,
which is not much.
I'm no expert either. I try to avoid that shit as much as I can, because if you haven't picked up from my sarcastic tone, I hate I hate all forms of cryptocurrency. I just think it's dumb.
Right. Well, I did talk to someone about crypto, and because they do have it, and it is quite interesting. I learned a lot of new stuff, and how it could affect the future as well. But let's not get into crypto. Like, this is a fantasy podcast, not a science fiction podcast.
The crypto cantrips and conniptions podcast.
That's the thumbnail.
Oh no, the title, no.
The title, yeah.
That's the second title we'll do related to cryptocurrency.
Yeah.
People are gonna think we're somehow related to like stuff like that.
We're going to spiral into this.
I don't want to draw those people to the channel. Stay away from me.
Well, to be fair, that once they know what the podcast is really about, they will just leave immediately again.
Yeah. Like, these are dweebs. What the hell is this?
Yeah. Bunch of stupid nerds.
Talking about Lord of the Rings all day. Oh my gosh, I have to look at my stocks, man.
Yeah, so anyway, what have you been up to the last couple of weeks regarding fantasy? What have you been watching?
Regarding
what did you
fantasy?
come across?
I don't know, man. I've been doing writing for Convergence. That's been a slow and steady grind.
So do you do that like every day, or?
No, not every day.
How much do you do usually?
Well, it depends on when I have ideas, because I'll talk about this quickly. My creative process is the most chaotic thing you will ever see. My creative process is basically me taking a dump or going into the shower and being like, wait, that's an amazing idea. Forgetting the idea, because I'm in the shower and I can't write it down. Then have an epiphany 45 minutes later regarding the idea I had, thinking I had a new idea. Quickly jolt it down somewhere, lose the paper. 45 minutes later again, I'll rethink of the idea, because it's been circling in my head, but I obviously keep forgetting. And then I finally write it down. It's often quite altered from the original idea I had in the shower, from the idea I had 2 hours later when I finally remembered to write it down. So I've been trying to teach myself, when I have an idea like that, to write it down immediately, no matter where I am.
Okay, that's interesting when you're in the shower.
Yeah, my phone is full of notes. I write it on my phone because it's easier. I don't always have pen and paper with me. I'm not that kind of prick. So
that's alright. Like, I have a pen and paper with me usually all the time, but I prefer my phone.
Yeah, no, so do I. But like, I don't just regular with me on my person. I have my wallet, my keys, my phone, and I don't have like a piece of paper. But whatever. So yeah, my ideas are all over the place, and then I write them down, and then I try to link them all together. So when I do write, to get back to your question, is really, well, it really depends on whether or not I actually get ideas or not. And the way I get ideas is by listening to music, going to outside, consuming fancy content, which I haven't really been doing except for playing Skyrim again.
Oh yeah, I noticed you playing it on Discord.
Yeah, it didn't work anymore because I installed too many mods.
Right.
It just kept crashing, and then I was like, I literally deleted every single Skyrim file along with every single save and mod I ever had from my PC. I reinstalled it through Steam, and then it worked again, and I reinstalled the working mod pack that I had. And now I'm playing Skyrim again, which I'm really enjoying. I'm playing on legendary difficulty and with survival mode on, so It's been a real challenge.
Did you play that before?
I have finished the game in Legendary. I have about 6,000 hours in the game now.
I still can't believe you have 6,000 hours in Skyrim.
I do. I've been playing since I'm like 12 or something, bro.
Yeah, no, I believe it. I could never spend so much time on a single.
Oh yeah, imagine
thing.
like 4,000 of those hours are vanilla. Just vanilla Skyrim. I mean, I have the same with Hearts of Iron 4. I played the game pretty much vanilla with not even all of the DLC for like the first 900 hours that I got the game. And then when I actually got the game, as in like fully with everything that goes with it, I only have like 600, so I think, I can't remember. So most of the games that I've played for a very, very long time, I started off playing without mods. But yeah, I finished the game on Legendary. I've done it once. That was a quite amazing feeling. But now I'm playing on Legendary with mods that make enemies more difficult, make combat more difficult, make movement more difficult, and I'm playing on survival mode, meaning I have to track my body temperature, I have to eat, and I have to sleep. Things like shrines don't cure diseases anymore, stuff like that. So that's really interesting, and it's been a real fun challenge for me to work through. It has been really frustrating at times because I cannot do certain dungeons because it's literally impossible. So I have to really think about my strategy and how I'm going to defeat my enemy instead of just Skyrim rushing in and insta-killing an entire dungeon with one shout.
Yeah, true.
I have to like plan ahead. Okay, there's probably trolls in there. Trolls are weak to fire, so I'll go back to town, which will take me all day, which means I'll have to sleep and drink, or sleep and eat. I'll stay in the tavern, I'll do some work, pay for a scroll of fireball, sleep again, because I have to work throughout the day. Then I ride to the cave, then I have to set up camp there and camp outside the cave to sleep and eat again, and then I have to go inside the cave. So normally in Skyrim I just walk into a cave and slaughter a troll, which would be like 5 minutes. Now it's like a 45-minute process of me travel, and there's also no fast travel, so I'm traveling back and forth between towns with my horse. I did install a mod that made horses faster, but still it's a horse, you have to walk there.
Yeah.
So it's been a real challenge, but it's been real fun.
Yeah. But you do already know what all the places must be, right? Like all the dungeons and areas.
I'm quite positive I can recall literally every dungeon in the game, to some degree. So like, I look at it, it's like, oh yeah, this is sort of the general layout, and I pretty much know what enemies are inside the cave, and if it's going to be difficult or not.
Yeah.
So I also know things like a lot of hidden coin pouches and small items that you'd normally pass by. I know exactly how to get them, and the start of the game for me is pretty much autopilot. I walk out of Helgen, I go straight to the bandit camp, kill the bandits, grab the treasure map, go to the standing stones, get the depends on what build I'm playing, but usually I pick the warrior stone, move to the Ember Sharp mine, clear out the mine, go to the treasure near Riverwood, go to Riverwood, sell all my stuff, get the quest, go to Bleakfall's Barrow, and then from Bleakfall's Barrow grab the Dragonstone, go to Whiterun, give the Dragonstone to Farengar, so I'll end the quest quickly without having to go twice, and that's how I play the first part of the game.
Yeah. No,
which I do every single
impressive.
time. But the thing was, it was getting real repetitive because I did it the exact same way because it's efficient.
Yeah.
But now with Legendary, I have to think like, okay, I literally cannot take the dungeon in one go. It will take me several in-game days of camping and eating and hunting outside to clear a dungeon.
Yeah,
so
true.
that's been real interesting. Quite frustrating at times because like I get one shot by certain enemies, like joggers with bows or
or like the final boss in Bleakfall's Barrow.
Actually, no, I didn't die a single time.
Right.
I have to I have to cheat certain, like not literally cheat as in with commands, but like I have to cheat my way through certain battles. Like I climb onto something and just shoot a bunch of arrows at him till he's weak enough, and then I'll finish him off in melee.
Right.
But like, I mean, it's still a fair way to play, I think, because I'm not using any commands or any cheats that make me more powerful. I'm just using my brain, my real boy brain to defeat the enemy.
Yeah, I do know that there are certain YouTube videos that tackle Skyrim and how to do it efficiently, but also like play Skyrim without leveling up or play Skyrim without walking. Like they're pretty fun videos,
walking.
And they use some really interesting tactics to circumvent certain events. One funny one is like a Winterhold.
Mm-hmm.
So usually you can only enter Winterhold using the bridge, where there's someone standing and he wants to see some magic, right?
Yeah, you have to do a spell. I think shout also works, but you have to perform some sort of magic.
Yeah. But what they do is they take a bucket which has a handle, and you stand on the bucket, and then you pick up the bucket with the handle, and then you float upwards very steadily until you reach the outer walls. And then you just enter the place. The same goes for the Thalmor embassy. That quest, because you can't. You can just bucket into the compound and just get the quest done without even going through that whole the party. So it's pretty fun, and like Skyrim just like it allows you to do essentially most things, at least, because it's like an open world. It's an RPG. When you circumvent certain things, they won't make sense, but they still allow you to continue the quest even if you didn't start the first part.
Break the game. Yeah, I have a friend of mine who played the game on Legendary as well, and his quest was to not go to Whiterun before he was level 60.
Okay.
He just traveled from Riverwood on Legendary difficulty all around Skyrim, completing all these quests until he was level 60, and then he just went fully decked out, beelined for Whiterun, and instantly did the entire main quest with like pretty much end game gear already.
Yeah, that's fine too.
I mean, like level 60 doesn't really get much better than that. Like full Daedric and then Dragonbone weaponry. Probably have most of the factions completed, except of course for the companions. But yeah.
That's pretty
for people
funny.
who don't play Skyrim, I'm sorry. Play the game, so you won't feel left out.
I mean, if you're
I'm not gonna say like I'm sorry I won't talk about it. No, play the damn game. It's a good game.
Yeah, although I assume that like people that listen to this podcast that actually enjoy it, that's one thing. They will probably be into fantasy in such a large part that they have played Skyrim,
or like at least heard of it or something like that. So
yeah, but it's pretty funny if you look like your friend who is level 60 before Whiterun. Like it's funny from the NPC's perspective, like Jarl Balgrove. They heard all these stories about this Dragonborn like causing havoc.
Not even Dragonborn, because it's not known that you're a Dragonborn yet, because you discover you're a Dragonborn when you kill the dragon at the Westwatch, like the Western Watchtower.
But that's when kills dragons like in the meantime, right? Doing quests.
Yeah, you do fight dragons, but like you get the title of Dragonborn only when you defeat the dragon.
Right, because he hasn't been to the Greybeards either then?
No, you can go to the Greybeards, but I'm not quite sure, but you can't get your training until like you've slain the dragon at the Western Watchtower and claimed its soul and get Unrelenting Force.
Okay, let's assume that no one knows that you are actually the Dragonborn. You're just this overpowered guy that just
champion of all the Daedric
helps
gods.
Everyone. Yeah. and then it turns out, ooh, you're also the Dragonborn in full Daedric armor before you enter Whiterun. Or like once you have
false
once you do enter.
Sup, bitches.
Yeah.
Enters, Doom music starts playing. All the Draugr. Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Maxed out level Dovahkiin. He got the Dark Brotherhood drip, the Thieves Guild money. All the Daedric artifacts out the wazoo, starts throwing him at the poor final boss, who gets instantly killed by a dragon bone arrow.
Yeah.
No, actually, I think the dragon bone weapons are better, but I think the Daedric arrows were actually better than.
Not sure.
I don't know. It's just random thought that came to mind, because I always remember when I played with my dad back like years ago. We'd always try to min-max. I still do. And I had Daedric armor, legendary enchanted, using alchemy to insanely boost my smithing ability to the point where I've like just god tier armor, and I'd use dragon bone weapons because they deal more damage than Daedric weapons actually. But I'm not sure. I think there was like an exception where you would use the Dragonbone bow and then Daedric arrows, because I might be completely remembering this wrong, but I believe that Daedric arrows were actually better for some reason.
Right, okay. Well, that's because the Daedric armor is the best one in the game, right?
Yeah, it is the best armor in the game. Purely based on its armor rating. Like, there's like Stalrim armor that has certain like effects, certain magical effects, and then like you can min-max that, but just purely based on armor rating, the Daedric armor is the best.
Yeah.
From what I've experienced in my long hours of that game. Okay, you guys imagine I still have a social life. Pretty busy one too. Wow, I know it's a flex, but like, damn.
Yeah, there's this one like meme, Skyrim meme that I just like really love. It's Jarl Balgruuf, but explaining what happens when he meets the Dragonborn. Like, you've probably seen it before, but I'll read it now. Random guy in shit tier iron armor shows up one day, saying a dragon has burned down a city. Don't know why the guards let him in. Figure I can throw another body at my court wizard, so I shuffle him over. Comes back with arrows sticking out of his body and holding the tablet out for my court wizard like it's nothing. Here reports someone killed literally every bandit, rat, wolf and rabbit between here and the spot he was sent. Now I need to get this pain immune lunatic murderer out of my city. Dragon shows up. Oh, thank the gods. Send the guy out on a suicide mission to kill a dragon. End of my worries.
No.
He comes back, apparently having killed the dragon and eaten its soul. According to reports, just stood there and let the dragon burn him while chugging addictive and dangerous health potions he made himself. Now standing in front of me, eating an entire bushel of apples, 2 loaves of bread and an entire side of beef, while everyone looks on in horror and disgust. Need to get him away from my children as fast as possible.
Oh my god,
tell him he needs to climb the tallest mountain in Skyrim and stay with the Greybeards. He leaves without a word. Hopefully that's the last I'll see of him.
Oh my god. And then he comes back and wants to trap a fucking dragon in your house.
Yeah, comes back, asks to trap a dragon in my house.
Wait, you're for real? And then he also comes back with a huge army and beleaguers your city.
Yeah.
Eyes glow meme.
Can't talk, but wants to have us accompany him to like this meeting with the Greybeards and the Stormcloaks. And the
You're staring menacingly at each leader until they give in.
Yeah. Oh man, I love that story. Like from the perspective of the NPCs.
I need to get this man away from my children. Not like Dragonborn could hurt, like the Dragonborn could hurt your children, because they're literally immune to death for some reason.
Yeah, they are even more powerful than the Dragonborn is.
Yeah, it's like in Skyrim when you turn 18, you're like, you can die now.
Yeah.
It's like, your shield has expired. Good luck.
So that would be interesting, that you can't die before you're 18.
Yeah, I mean, that could be an interesting concept, yeah.
Yeah, for
I mean,
for a story
wouldn't the
or
world be
movie.
super overpopulated if... we're not gonna talk about child death on the fucking podcast. We're
Jesus.
not gonna do it. We're not gonna do it.
Jesus.
No, we're not gonna do it.
No.
In other news, I got my watch fixed today.
Yeah.
When I
sure.
say fixed, I mean I had the battery replaced because I'm a moron. And I was like, I don't know if this is broken, but could you like look at it? And they were like, yeah, sure, come back in half an hour, and it was done. It was like €8, so...
Yeah, kind of cool. And you have a nice classic
Nice.
watch.
I got classic drip watch. I
yes.
hate the word drip. I have...
Something to flex with.
Yeah. I mean, I can also already flex with my beautiful locks, but yeah. No, I got my nice looking watch, and I'm really happy with that. So that's
great.
a thing to get us away from the subject we were talking about before.
So you're going to wear it like every day, pretty much.
Yeah.
Like how long does it run for?
The battery, it's
Yeah.
like the average watch battery lasts for like 2 years. So, I mean, if it's only
Okay.
8 to replace it, then
Yeah,
No
that's
problem.
alright.
and it's
And-
really they said, because I don't know what model this is, and they were like, this is these were literal words, of course translated, but that's a very exquisite watch there, a very prized piece, and I was like, okay, damn.
Wanna buy it?
Want to buy? How much?
How
Bro,
much?
how much? Bro, how much? And then I also went to the makeup store with my girlfriend, because I have to be responsible, and she got beleaguered by people who work there. Like, you want to try some samples? You need any help? And she was like, no, I'm fine. I'm just
Alright.
looking around.
Yeah.
And then the next store we went to, like the woman was like, oh yeah, so the lady that worked there, I should say, that's not nice of me. The lady that worked there, pardon my English, she was like, you guys need any help? And my girlfriend was like, no, I'm fine. I'm trying to convince him to buy this for me. And I was like, fuck you. Why
Did it
would
work?
you? No, it didn't work. It was like 100, like the smallest bottle they had was 65. I'm not gonna get, never mind. It was way too expensive. So, yeah.
Different priorities with money.
Different priorities.
considering money.
Of course, I have to put my money into my newest obsession, which is the what I spoke to you about before the podcast. Me and my friends were gonna do World War
that
II
one.
reenactment, the British Army, Northwestern Theatre, early to mid-war. That's gonna take a few weeks till everyone's ready, and then we're just gonna hit up a shop somewhere and like ask, yo, we need some stuff, can you get this for us? And then we'll see.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yes.
I still have to like it was like, okay, sure, but I do have to finish all my Warhammer minis, so I have to get to work after this important week.
Yeah, true. So, about Warhammer, like, there's a new game out as well.
Yeah, the
like,
Warhammer
Total
3,
War 3.
Total War.
Like, is it much different than the second one or the first one?
I haven't played it yet, but I've watched a lot of videos. It is, I mean, it's the same game loop in the sense that it's a Total War game. That won't get much difference. Like, okay, you have cities and you have armies and you go fight, and there's diplomacy. But it's still different since it's a Warhammer game. The Warhammer fantasy series is quite controversial among Total War fans. Personally, I really enjoy it, so there go half of our subscribers. But I don't think it's necessarily better than the original games, because the battles only last like 10 minutes, which is a shame. But I really like the magic and the lore and stuff like that. So yeah, mechanic-wise, it's quite similar to 2 and 1. It's of course is way different than the other Total War games out there. I think the closest match outside of Warhammer would be Total War 3 Kingdoms. And but I do think it looks great. I think it's an interesting story concept that every faction is trying to, instead of vie for world dominance, vie for the corpse and or freedom of a god, which is literally trapped in hell.
Right.
Ursud. So that could be, I think that's interesting, and I'd like to play it, but currently I'm playing Warhammer 2 because I'm a slowpoke and I lag behind everyone, so I have to catch up.
Yeah, but like if you love the Warhammer like games and Total War Warhammer games, you will like the third one as well. It's not like it's completely different.
No. It's actually the way I see
more
it,
of the same, but like pretty good.
The way I see the Warhammer games, as in like the Total War Warhammer games, they're basically it started off with one, and it was just the old world, so like the Empire, the Orcs, the Vampire Counts, Bretonnia, etc. Then they made to release 2, and that was all about the new world, like Lustria, the Lizardmen, Nagaroth, the High Elves, Dark Elves. Then they released Mortal Empires in 2, so if you owned 1 and 2, you could play with the mechanics of Warhammer 2 on a huge mega map with all the factions of 1 and 2 that you previously owned. So that's amazing. I've been having a lot of fun with that. And 3 released a whole new like Chaos Waste in the north and Grand Cathay and the Ogre Kingdoms.
Right.
So that's cool. And what I'm hoping to see is that they'll actually release like a what was I saying before? Like a mega map of all 3 games based in Warhammer 3.
Right.
It's mostly confirmed that they'll be making one.
Yeah, it would be a logical next step.
So in the end we have this epic conclusion to the trilogy with this insanely large game map with all these awesome factions.
Yeah, no, that's cool. Like the closest thing I can guess or like remember is like Elder Scrolls Online, where they keep adding these new areas until the entire continent of Tamriel has been.
Yeah, but the thing is, they don't. Yeah, it's the closest thing. I agree, but they don't change the game. Like the gameplay stays the same, relatively speaking.
Yeah, it just gets bigger.
Warhammer 3 that does like. Or like just a new Warhammer game, it adds, in my opinion, a bunch of stuff that's different from the previous installments. New mechanics, new voice lines, new factions, of course, but that's logical. But like mechanic-wise, the game itself does change. Like the little things change. So, for example, in Warhammer 1, when I would select like 3 units of basic infantry swordsmen, I'd let them charge. They'll be like, "Wah!" Then they charge. They would like release a battle cry, but it wouldn't be very, very epic. But in 2, if you select your army, they all like chant, and each different army has its own like chant. They'll chant, and when you order them to charge, it's like this roaring clash of steel, so it makes the battles 10 times more epic. Like those are little changes that gradually happen over the course of the games and make them better.
Okay. Yeah, that's interesting, like those tiny details, but that elevate gameplay and immersion.
Yeah, I think immersion is indeed what they're trying to achieve with that. And I think they're succeeding. So, I love when I first started up 2, I was like, okay, I'm going to play 2. I loved 1. I spent a lot of hours in Warhammer 1. I started up 2, and I ordered my my infantry to charge. And I was like, wait, what? And there's like, just a massive charge of men with my cavalry as well. Like, for Bretonnia, rumbling down a mountain, crashing into the goblins. That was amazing. So I was really really happy the first time I played 2, and I hope when I do get the chance to play 3, which of course I'll wait because once again I'm slow and I have to catch up. I get to it brings the same experience or like a better experience than 2 did.
Right. Okay, that's cool to hear. Any estimate as to when you would be playing 3?
Well, I mean, I have a lot of different things I'm doing at the moment right now, like a lot of different hobbies, and I just started playing 2, so I'm not gonna buy 3 yet and just ditch 2. I'm gonna enjoy 2 for all that it's worth, and then I think I'll buy 3 as soon as they release Mortal Empire, so like the mega map.
Okay.
That's probably when I'll buy 3, but I have to wait a little bit because the game is quite expensive. So yeah, but I'll probably around the time they release Mortal Empires for 3.
Right, so like the whole package, maybe at a discount even at some point.
Yeah, I mean I do have the 2 previous games, but like if I could get 3 at a discount, that would be the ultimate deal there.
Okay, cool. Yeah, makes sense. So yeah, like the game I've been playing
yes,
is Elden Ring.
Everyone's been playing.
Everyone's been playing Elden Ring.
Even people who are like totally not interested in Souls games, I've heard like, oh, Elden Ring looks amazing. I'm like, that's because it is.
They hopped on the bandwagon, which is perfectly fine. But I have heard stories about the first actual real boss in the game. Like 60% of players, or like between 40 and 60%, like haven't even beaten the first boss yet.
Jeez, okay.
After like 2 weeks, which is pretty interesting. Like it took me a bunch of tries, but it's not like I had.
I mean, it's
too
normal
much
for Dark Souls, really.
Yeah, I'm not a noob to the Souls games, so.
Unless you're me and you defeat every boss first. No, not everyone, but like a lot of the bosses at the first try.
Yeah, like the second, like there's one. The major. Okay, so I have about 50 hours into the game right now, and I think I'm maybe between 60 and 70% of the game done. So it's a massive game. It's absolutely insane how massive this game is.
That's more content than Skyrim says it has.
Yeah, I think like considering Skyrim, I think Elden Ring actually comes pretty close. And let me explain, because I know how much you love Skyrim.
Let's explain. Just defend yourself.
Close your eyes. Imagine, right?
Okay, I will. Yes.
Okay, yeah. Imagine a world.
I can't see.
You can't see. No, I see. You can't see. Imagine a world like Skyrim. So imagine all the fields, all the cities, the villages. Okay, now imagine all of it has gone to shit. Like all of it is broken down. Everything looks like
after my campaign, when I'm finished with the world. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So everything looks like Helgen after the attack, right?
The dragons win.
The dragons win. Also, there are no people except for a handful of NPCs that just stand around. And
no maidens.
Maidenless. Yes, we are maidenless. Well,
no maiden.
So that's basically Elden Ring. It's like a world like Skyrim. You can go wherever you want to go. You can circumvent entire dungeons and bosses. But there isn't much like social encounters throughout the world. So those dialogues you don't have the interactions with people, you don't have to follow anyone. It really is just you against the world, and occasionally you meet like a person there, like in Dark Souls 3, you know how NPCs worked in Dark Souls 3. They just really stand around a bit, and then they disappear for a while, and they show up somewhere else. Yeah,
that's one of the. I think that's cool and like unique for a game, because it's like it really really makes you focus on the beauty of the environment and the I'd say like the action in the game.
Yeah, and the journey you need to take
yeah.
as like the chosen one, so to speak.
Yeah, it's all about you.
Yeah.
But my favorite part of pretty much any game is interacting with NPCs
Yeah,
and
I
role playing.
understand.
So I'm like, but I want to talk to people. Why? No. So I think I'll enjoy the game if I ever do play it. But
yeah, to be fair,
I'm gonna be a little sad that I'm just gonna be called maidenless and then move on.
yeah, it's pretty funny, but like absolutely, I think for fantasy lovers, Elden Ring will be a must play. Like I genuinely believe this. Like I think you would enjoy Elden Ring a lot more than you would Dark Souls.
Okay.
You like Dark Souls, you like the world. You mentioned this before, but Elden Ring, because it's open world, you can really like actually explore, and there is a lot to explore.
Yeah, that was one of the things I had with Dark Souls. Like you go to an area, you clear the area.
Yeah.
I've seen it all. Then you go back, enemies are back. You know, so.
Yeah. And
does it work the same way with like Elden Ring when you travel somewhere, you clear it out, and then the enemies respawn, or?
Yeah, so it has the same mechanics. Like either you die or you rest at a checkpoint, and enemies respawn. But because it's open world, you have a lot more options to approach certain areas. And if an area is too hard, like in Dark Souls, when a certain boss is too hard, too difficult, you don't really have anywhere else to go. You really have to beat that boss in order to progress.
Yeah. You get stuck, basically.
Yeah, you're a bit stuck. Like I definitely was stuck at some point in Dark Souls 3. I'm not sure if you have been there yet, but it was Pontiff Sullivan.
Yeah, I've beaten him already, I think.
Yeah, like the first time I played Dark Souls 3, like I just couldn't beat him. But he was necessary to progress, so I gave up and replayed the game a couple of years later. But anyway, like in Elden Ring, you can really circumvent entire dungeons and bosses. Now, of course, there are these closed areas. They're called legacy
like
dungeons.
Yeah.
And they are more your classic style Dark Souls. So you have a boss at the beginning, and you have to beat that boss in order to enter this massive dungeon. But because you can jump and crouch, there is a lot of verticality to it. So a lot of alternating pathways, and if a certain door can't be opened, there are like 2 different ways to get to the point to actually open this door. Or you can jump from rooftop to rooftop, and you have to repeat this like 5 times because you jump down to an area and then you can't get back up. Explore that bit and then go back, jump to a different roof and explore that part. So
it sounds like the game sort of, you know, it sounds like it's a game that really just like here's sort of what you have to do. Good luck.
Yeah.
No, go play outside, Timmy. Bye.
Yeah, just.
I mean, that's also kind of what I felt Dark Souls 3 did, because like you have to pay really, really close attention to the storyline to get an idea of where you have to go. Obviously, it's Dark Souls 3. The only way you can go is forward, but
yeah,
the objectives are quite obscured, I'd say, by dialogue or by literally not telling you where to go. It's like, oh, good luck.
Yeah, unfortunately for Dark Souls, it's a bit more obvious. Like you mentioned, it's like a single path really you can take. So eventually you will be directed into the correct area and what you have to do.
Yeah.
In Elden Ring, they had to tackle it a bit differently because it's so open world, massively open world. You can go anywhere, do anything, but at some point it really does get tough, and you have to go back to an earlier area. But it is a lot more straightforward. Like the main path of the game, they will tell you where to go. They will show you where to go on the minimap.
Is it like a map marker? Okay, there is.
But to explore the rest of the game and side areas and stuff, Like those you will have to explore yourself.
Okay.
But it's really cool. Like I said, I definitely think you will like this game.
Oh yeah, I probably well, as I said, I think I will. But it's like a game I really need to sit down for.
Yeah.
So I'll probably wait for that till I have some time off again in the future, and then have a proper playthrough.
Yeah.
Because I like Dark Souls 3 as well, despite its sort of lack of real dialogue between characters. There is obviously dialogue, but like it's often quite, I don't know, like hazy in a way. Characters, it almost feels like it almost feels like characters never really speak to you directly. Like they're more just speaking in like whoever's listening. That's sort of the feeling I get, and probably the feeling they want to like give the player, because it's sort of hopeless that they're just talking to whoever will listen, because there's really no one left.
Yeah, it's almost
so that does fit the theme of the game.
Yeah.
But but still, like the combat and stuff like that, I know I'll enjoy.
Yeah, the combat is like the culmination of all past of their games. Like this game is really like the combination of Dark Souls and Bloodborne. Like all the best things from those games have been put into Elden Ring, and more. So yeah, that's really cool.
Could you explain to me again, like the lore? Is Elden Ring connected to Dark Souls, or is it a separate world? Because that's not something I don't really understand. I don't know how long this is gonna take, but like.
No, this won't take long. Quick answer: no, it's not connected. Long answer: if you're really into the games and you really want to see connections, there are connections. Like, what I noticed really was the start of the game. Really looks a lot like the start of the Demon Souls game.
Okay.
Like I won't go into details as to why that is. Like you just have to see for yourself at some point.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a lot of similarities between the games, and I'm sure if you're a hardcore theorist, you can make these connections, and make them part of the same universe or even the same like world and continent. But it's still a bit of obscure, of course. But quick answer: if you're just playing the game casually and don't think about it, the larger picture too much, no, it's not connected. Okay. And nor should you read into it as if it is. Yeah, of course,
unless if you're of course a crazy theorist like you said, and it's like I think Skyrim and Undertale are actually connected because there's also skeletons in Skyrim and they live on the ground.
Yeah, true, but like Elden Ring is complicated enough in itself, so.
Of course it is. It's a Bandai Namco game.
Yeah, From Software game.
It's they're always complicated in some way.
It's obscure, but like the lore, like it's such a unique fantasy game. Like there is no other fantasy movie, game, book out there that does such a unique world as the From Software makes their worlds.
Yeah. Yeah, I always find it interesting because it's so unconventional. It on like one hand, when I see certain armors or I see certain movements, it's really like anime-esque, sort of like Japanese, you know, like the armor like looks like samurai armor. But then at the same time, it's like, you know, the classic European medieval fantasy.
Yeah, and I think that's the beauty of it and the genius. Like it's a Japanese company, and they take the Japanese culture, and like I hope I say this correctly or try to explain it correctly, but they take their culture and what they enjoy, and then make it European, or like the European vision of a Japanese company. So take for instance Bloodborne, which is really
it's like more of an interpretation in some way.
So like
Okay.
Bloodborne, for instance, like a really gothic,
Yeah,
like style and
almost Victorian
Victorian,
English.
yeah, but really exaggerated. So the way Japan would look at Victorian England, and then they would see all these designs and houses and architecture, and really exaggerate it and make a world out of it. And that's basically also what they do with Dark Souls 3, like Lothric. Like the first time you enter, it's like this huge city with beautiful buildings. And Elden Ring as well, like certain environments. Like it's really exaggerated, like a castle on top of a cliff and stuff like that. Like it would never work in real life, but they really exaggerate the European style, like the way they would envision.
So instead of the other way around, in this case, it's a interpretation of what our like history, or I mean, we're not really walking around in medieval castles anymore, but I get what you mean. I think you explained it properly.
Good, thanks.
It's interesting because it's always like what we get a lot here in the West. It's like we get these, we get our interpretations of cultures from outside of where we live, and I think it's interesting that a game like this, where it's in this case it's like a Eastern interpretation of the West, whatever history that may be, and that becomes so popular in the West. I find that really interesting because we're basically, in a lot of cases, looking at our own history, but through the eyes of somebody who doesn't necessarily know our history firsthand. You know what I mean? So I find that interesting, why that is so popular.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a good game, logically speaking. It's a good game. It has really nice graphics, that sort of thing. But the thing I've always found with Dark Souls and with Souls games and with like Elden Ring, it's this big sort of mix of Japanese based like cultures and medieval European and all these things thrown together with which normally, if you do that, if you'd see that in the fantasy setting, you'd be like, oh, that's cliche, it doesn't work well together, like, but this does, and I find that so interesting. Could that possibly be because it's an Eastern interpretation of the Western world instead of the other way around? That's the reason why it works.
Yeah, interesting topic. Let's see. I think that could be right, but it could also go horribly wrong if you like mix these things. Like you really have to have a good understanding of what stuff you take from the West and how you make that into a beautifully crafted world, coherent world, with a beautiful story behind it.
Yeah, because that's often the problem I see with
really
worlds
difficult.
that throw. Yeah, that's often the problem I see with worlds that throw medieval European history and, for example, let's just say like fantasy samurai. They throw that together, that it ends up really tacky. It doesn't blend well.
Or they make them separate areas in their world, and
like Skyrim, for example, the Akaviri, they have like this sort of samurai-esque armor, and they use katanas. Well, they're from a whole separate continent, and you know, so it can happen, but then it's often, like you say, it's like it's separated.
Yeah,
I find
too
this
difficult.
Really interesting why that blend works so well with the Souls games.
Yeah, I don't know what the secret is, but they do something brilliantly.
Either they have like top tier writers, which they probably do, but
praise
like
Miyazaki.
insane writers, in a good way, or it's like you said, it's like this different interpretation, different viewpoint that the one we are used to seeing here in Western media, Western games.
Yeah. True. Like I can't really put a finger on one single thing that they do that makes it work essentially. It's just such a unique world that they crafted, but that's still recognizable in some ways.
Yeah, and still coherent.
Yeah.
Because it often ends up being like separate pockets that rarely mesh together, but like you and I could be playing the same game of Elden Ring, and I could be playing the classic medieval European knight, and you could be playing an anime style samurai that dashes and does all these crazy moves.
Yeah, and in Elden Ring it still
and it's
works.
the same game, and it still works. It doesn't change the game,
sense.
and it makes sense. So that's so interesting, and it's probably way too philosophical for a dumb podcast about fantasy, but like, could that be because of that view, like the different viewpoint than what we are used to?
Yeah, I think it definitely helps. Like one other game, Ghosts of Tsushima, that was also really well received because it was a Western company that created a Japanese-based game, like a game based in Japan.
Was it really well received in Japan?
And it did incredibly well, and even in Japan, like people were quite astonished with how well a Western company was able to convey the style and the tone and architecture and people.
The general atmosphere.
Of ancient Japan. So it can work, and of course that one was more based in reality, while Elden Ring is completely a fantasy game setting. But still, it can work, and these different viewpoints is what, in my opinion, what makes the gaming industry so cool and varied, because they all like take inspiration from each other and countries,
every company
and
has
they
a
work
different
together.
Background. Yeah, every company has a different background and looks at things in a different angle, and that's the my observation for this.
Yeah, it's
this
more
episode.
of a like close-knitted community than like movies are. Like, because there's so much interaction between communities and exploration and people who love the game from all over the world. Like, if you love a movie, like other people all over the world will also love that movie but essentially you experience the same thing. But in video games,
it's the same story.
It gets really personal in how you, what you feel, what you do, how you play the game, when you play the game, and it makes it a lot more
connecting,
dedicated community per game, but also just entire genres. Like, to go back to Elden Ring and From Software, like, they've got fans all over the world who have played the game, who have loved the game, who jumped into Elden Ring and are now part of this already huge community of players all around the world who share their ideas and gameplay and stories that are really personal to them. And it just works. Like, people are interested in each other.
Hey, Bethesda, it just works.
It just works. Like, it's not a surprise that Elden Ring already won like 8 awards before the game was even released.
Before it was even released.
And it will definitely win more awards this year.
Oh, it's gonna be the biggest game of this year, maybe.
Yeah, it might be record breaking at the Game Awards at the end of the year.
Yeah.
But let's not forget there's also a lot of other games that are coming out this year, because everything had been on hold, all releases had been on hold, and now that the world's opening up again, like, everyone is releasing their games this year, and like the lineup is insane. Yeah. It's incredible. So the games that are coming out. Go watch
like Gamescom and stuff, because you'll be up to date, unlike me. You'll figure out what's going on in the world of gaming.
Yeah. So I think, to round off the gaming part, in a couple days, or tomorrow even maybe, the Hogwarts Mystery game will get gameplay reveal.
Okay.
So a new Hogwarts RPG, which I'm quite interested in. But of course, also once E3 happens in June, like, we'll do a podcast about what kind of games have been announced, like fantasy. We could
even do like a little sort of live review, live reaction to it.
Yeah, maybe I'll have to set that up at my end. But we'll cross that line once we get there.
Yeah, once we have the chance.
Yes.
All right, that was one hell of an episode.
Yeah,
we went in blank and we ended up with our most profound discussions yet.
Yeah, it feels a bit like the first couple times we did episodes when we didn't have any idea what we would talk about. So we just went.
I rewatched the first episode and it was just all over the place. Like this had a very clear theme. This was like gaming, okay, yeah. But like the first episode, we were trying to cram so much into a single episode. And we talked about movies, games, D&D, like crazy.
Yeah, it's a best of both worlds, like separate subjects, but still like varied enough to keep people's attention and our attention as well.
Yeah, because I mean, I can talk about Skyrim for an hour, but I haven't had that much experience with Elden Ring yet that I can keep going for 50 minutes.
No, true.
I mean, you could, so that's not a problem at all.
But to share our summarized stories of our experience,
indeed,
I think that works best for a single episode instead of going an entire episode about one subject. World building.
World building, yeah. Looking through a character sheet for an hour.
Jeez.
Talking about beans.
Yeah, but do you want to do the outro?
Oh, I get to do the outro? Okay,
yeah,
okay. Well, before I do the outro, I want to say I have an idea that I want to do for the channel.
Tell me.
But I'm not going to tell you on the podcast. I'll tell you after. I think it's going to be quite fun. I mean, it's been done before, but we'll put our own little spin on it.
Yeah. We'll also record some more Hobbit episodes at some point. We haven't gotten around to it, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But we will finish the show.
Yeah, we will finish the show. That'll be done. And maybe we can do a little side project that I had in mind.
Yeah.
But thank you all so much for listening. This has been the Castles, Cantrips and Conniptions podcast.
I'll cut that out. I won't.
Damn you. No, that's fine. Thank you all for listening, and
thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.